Tyakilatmanaha Shrijam Shishyami Shishtoham Shaivasdoditaha Tasyapi Drishtu Drishtasya Kilatmanaha Shrijam Shishyami Shishtoham Ishva eva pritotitaha. So word for word translation. Tasya, his, api, certainly, drashtuha, of the seer, ishasya, of the controller, kutastasya, of the one who is over everyone's intelligence. Akila Atmanaha, of the super soul. Shrijam, that which is already created. Shrijami, do I discover. Shishtaha, created. Aham, myself. Ikshaya, by glance over. Eva, exactly. Abhicho ditaha, being inspired by him. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his vision as the all-pervading supersoul. And I also am created by him only. Purport. Even Brahma, the creator of the universe, admits that he is not the actual creator but is simply inspired by the Lord Narayana, and therefore creates under his superintendence those things already created by him. The super soul of all living entities, who's the super soul of all living entities? Two identities of soul, the super soul and the individual soul, are admitted to be in the living entity, even by the great authorities of the universe. The super soul is the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, whereas the individual soul is the eternal servitor of the Lord. The Lord inspires the individual soul to create what is already created by the Lord. And by the goodwill of the Lord, a discoverer of something in the world is accredited as the discoverer. It is said that Columbus discovered the Western Hemisphere, but actually, the tract of land was not created by Columbus. The vast tract of land was already there by the omnipotency of the Lord, Supreme Lord. And Columbus, by dint of his past service unto the Lord, was blessed with the credit of discovering America. Similarly, no one can create anything without the sanction of the Lord, since everyone sees according to their ability. This ability is also awarded by the Lord according to one's willingness to render service unto the Lord. If one must therefore be voluntarily willing to render service unto the Lord, and thus the Lord will empower the doer in proportion to his surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Lord Brahma is a great devotee of the Lord, and therefore he has been empowered or inspired by the Lord to create such a universe as the one manifested before him. The Lord also inspired Arjuna to fight in the field of Kurukshetra as follows: Tasmat tvam uttishta yato labasva jitva shatrun bhunktva rajyam samsridam mayai vaite nihataha purvam eva nimitta matra matram bhavas savya sachin. The battle of Kurukshetra or any other battle at any place or at any time is made by the will of the Lord. For no one can arrange such mass annihilation without the sanction of the Lord. The party of Duryodhana insulted Draupadi, a great devotee of Krishna, and she appealed to the Lord as well as all the silent observers of this unwarranted insult. Arjuna was then advised by the Lord to fight and take credit. Otherwise, the party of Duryodhana would be killed anyway by the will of the Lord. So Arjuna was advised just to become an agent and take the credit for killing great generals like Bhishma and Karna. In the Vedic writing, such as the Katha Upanishad, the Lord is described as the Sarva Bhuta Antaratma, or the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, who resides in everyone's body and who directs everyone for one who directs everything for one who is a surrendered soul unto him. Those who are not surrendered souls are put under the care of the material nature. Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudani mayaya. Therefore, they are allowed to do things in their own accord and suffer the consequence themselves. Devotees like Brahma and Arjuna do not do anything on their own accord, but as fully surrendered souls, they always await indications from the Lord. Therefore, they attempt to do something which appears very wonderful to ordinary vision. One of the Lord's name is Urukrama, or one whose actions are very wonderful and are beyond the imagination of the living entity. So the actions of his devotees sometimes appear very wonderful due to the direction of the Lord. Beginning from Brahma, the topmost intelligent living entity within the universe, down to the smallest ant, every living entity's intelligence is overseen by the Lord in his transcendental position as the witness of all actions. The subtle presence of the Lord is felt by the intelligent man who can study the psychic effects of thinking, feeling and willing. Okay, let's chant the Mangalacharan together. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Takshurum Militam Yena Dasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stvapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvatutam Parijana Charitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Shrute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'll read the translation again. Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his vision as the all-pervading Supersoul. And I also am created by him only. So these are the questions which were asked by Narad Muni, and then this answered by Brahma. I'd just like to read a couple of translations before. It's just wonderful to read in connection to this, where Brahma says the Vedic literature, translation 15, the Vedic literatures are made by and are meant for the Supreme Lord. The demigods are also meant for serving the Supreme Lord as part of his body. The different planets are also meant for the sake of the Lord, and different sacrifices are meant just to please him. Text 16. All different types of meditation or mysticism are meant for realizing Narayana. All austerities are aimed at achieving Narayana. Culture of transcendental knowledge is for getting a glimpse of Narayana, and ultimately salvation is entering the kingdom of Narayana. So again we see that how Lord Brahma, who is the actual first creator of this material world, the actual grandfather of all the living beings, is saying that he himself is being created by Lord Narayan. In this material world, we can see the difference between the way devotees think and then materialists think. Because if you are in an organization, you are working, and then you're presenting something to a class of men, and then after the presentation, if somebody comes and says that you've done a good job, usually we'd like to take the credit for that job that was presented, or what was actually discovered, or what was actually built. So in material world, people don't like to talk about their masters, because it's basically taking the attention from them to another person. But in spiritual context, we can see that when asked the question by Narada Muni, Brahma first of all feels happy and thanks Narada Muni that you are actually asking a very nice question, because it makes me remember about my master. It makes me understand about my master. And in that way, I'm happy to say. And he actually is more than happy than the questioner that he's given the opportunity to talk about his master, who's Lord Narayan or Krishna. Now this is the same case where devotees also want to engage themselves in preaching about the glories of the Lord. And we also understand that Krishna is the supreme controller. He controls everything. So we as individual souls, the things that we do is just like nimitra matram. We can only act as just as instrument. If you don't do that work properly, then it's basically you are losing out, rather than Krishna's you putting Krishna in a difficult situation, because you are losing out. So as we painted the walls yesterday. So it's when you think about it, it's like, oh my God, painting. But it was the first time I painted in my whole life, so it was really exciting. So when you do that activity, when you just do that activity, you feel, when you go and have a look, and this is the service that I could actually do, it's amazing. You feel a happiness inside. Now, it is not to think that the devotees who came and helped, it's not that they don't think that I did it. But even if we didn't turn up, or whoever turned up yesterday, if they didn't turn up, the work would have been done. Somebody would have come and then painted, or even like you could have called professionals and then you can just painted the whole thing. Now the whole thing would have happened no matter whether you put your effort or no. But the thing is, like, what we have is basically that we had the opportunity to serve, and then you take the opportunity. Like I remember when my initial days of Krishna consciousness, when I started, like Ghanshyam Prabhu used to, because we used to live in Epping, so Ghanshyam Prabhu used to tell us, we have a service over the weekend. So sometimes we say yes, and then sometimes we might have, it's not that we will say like, why would you want to come to temple every Sunday doing something? So sometimes when we say like, oh Prabhu, sorry, we have some other engagement, we already have some friends coming through. And I really liked the response he gave, and he said, that's okay, that's fine. Devotion service is just an opportunity. If you like, take the opportunity. And it was like in material terms, if somebody's planned something and everything, now you go and tell him that like you're not available, usually there is disappointment. Usually there is, oh my God, I thought there's two people coming here because me and my wife. So we covered for two people, and then suddenly two people going, where am I going to look for another two person? Like that frustration can be subtly seen. But then the way he put forward is like, it's basically, you're not doing a favor, but I'm just giving you the opportunity to serve. But if you can't, that's fine. You see, and that actually put me in a situation like, what is it's just doing, like, like for example, lifting the books, or like, cleaning up and everything. What is it so amazing in this cleaning up job which I don't do in my home? So I felt a bit he's getting something, he's doing something. So then you slowly start to kind of see how relishable this activity is. And we talk about devotee association, like when we were painting yesterday, and then it was so fun, to not just, it's not about just painting, it's just all about talking. And Prabhu came and said, like, this color is not good, we have to do sham color. So there is all this interaction that happens, which makes the whole experience much more memorable. So in that way, we see how devotion service is such a pleasure. And on the other hand, we can see that Krishna as controller, he actually, it's like we know that we can't sustain without sun or rain. They're very important in the sustenance of all the living entities in the material world. Now when you see the clouds, which are like dark clouds, which sometimes said like the color of Krishna, when they are actually in the sky, when they're about to rain, now the clouds can actually hold a lot of water, right? They have a lot of water. But then when it rains, it's not like the clouds just separate apart and the whole bulk of water falls to the earth. If that happens, there'll be like, we'll be drowned in no time, right? So Krishna controls that, and then he actually lets the water out in a sustained manner, so it's actually nourishing to the grounds and nourishing to the people. And also sunshine. Now sun is very important for like as rain, for vegetation. Now if the sun would have been 10 miles away, further away from where it is now, the whole earth would have been have a different climatic situation. It would be more frozen rather than the nice weather we have. And if the sun would have been another 10 miles, when talking about the distance between earth and sun, 10 miles is just nothing. But if 10 miles closer to us, we wouldn't be in a position to live here, because it would be like really, really, really hot. So we wouldn't have been able to tolerate that heat. So when you see that, it doesn't mean that they all actually just align themselves the way they want. It's actually been very meticulously been done, so that for a certain planet, what would be a good condition for us to live in. Now there is another planet which is very close to the sun, Mercury. So, and there are living entities in there, as we see. If there are living entities in the sun, there are living entities in every universe, in planet. So they have a different body. But for the planet that we are in, this is the body that we suit, and this is how much we can actually tolerate. And we see the effects of climate change. Just maybe not even 1 degree, like even just 0.5 degree increase on average makes it a very hard situation for us to live. So now, similarly, in this way, we actually see that how Krishna is controlling. But from our side, we see that how, if we surrender to Krishna, how much happiness we are able to derive, rather than how, if we are disconnected from Krishna, we don't feel that happiness. And this material body is a place where no matter how much we try to be happy, there's something that keeps happening, no matter what. How much ever you try to make the best of situations, there are some disturbance, no matter what. It can come from any different angle. And you might think like, why I'm trying my best to just even lead a simple life, but then difficulties keep coming to me. And what can I do with it? You can't do much. You just have to learn to tolerate. And that is actually a very like the verse from Bhagavad Gita where it says matras svanteyu kaunteya matras parstetu kaunteya. Like when you come from a materialistic background, when Krishna says there are seasons, like how the seasons summer and winter, there is happiness and sadness. Just tam titiksva bharata, he says just tolerate. Now when you come from a materialistic mindset, it's like, so am I reading all these things just to tolerate? Like, because materialistic people want to create a solution. They want to have a solution so that they don't have to go through that suffering. To just tolerate, it means like, what? All I have to do is just sit down and just tolerate and not do anything. Because when when you hear these motivational songs or these, songs which are passionate, right? Movie songs or some motivational songs or something like that, and then national songs that actually induce patriotism and all these things. When you hear those songs, what would naturally be in your, like, even when you're like working or when you're actually sitting and hearing these songs, what is the subtle thing that happens in your body? It just, because more of passion, you just kind of get worked out. And people, every time when you talk about passion, you don't think about sitting down and meditating. Passion means like you want to get up, you want to hit someone, you want to, like some injustice happening, you just want to get up and hit him, and then you see the hero doing that. You want to fly over and want to save someone, and then you want to be in a protest, like screaming and shouting and putting your voice in the ether. So you want to do all these things which actually is passionate. But we never, for any solution, we never think that calmness or tolerating or actually instead not doing anything, but developing those internal qualities of forgiveness or tolerance or forbearance and those kind of qualities are not actually seen as something that you can actually achieve from. That's why sometimes people feel that sometimes when people are kind, sometimes people are loving, they sometimes feel that it's a sign of weakness. Because what they relate to strength is basically power. Hitting someone, subduing someone, exploiting, and then people giving them respect. That is what people see as controlling. But as we see in the nectar of instruction, the first verse, Vacha veham manasa krodha veham, it says, if you can't control your anger, your mind, your genitals, everything, your tongue, then you can't make anything, you can't get anything substantially. Because if you can't control yourself, then you're trying to control something which is not part of you, external, it won't stay for long. So that is what Krishna says. You have to control yourself. Now the example that Prabhupada gives here is Draupadi when she was being insulted in the assembly of the Kurus. It's every time I read about it or when I hear about it, it just gives me goosebumps, because we're looking at an era where it's not even Kali Yuga, it's not even the beginning of Kali Yuga, it's just Dwapar Yuga, and then Krishna was there, and then even now in Brahminical cultures, women are a little bit shy. They don't come out in front of men very often. But to consider in that age, to actually call like the prince, the queen of the other half of the kingdom, and try to disrobe her and insult her in front of all these saintly and Mahajans, Bhishma Pitama was there, is totally like you can't think that such a thing can be allowed to happen. But it's amazing that it actually happened. Now, in that thing, we know that how Draupadi went and asked everyone there in the assembly, starting from Dhritarashtra to Bhishma Pitama to Kripacharya to Dronacharya to nobody could help, and she came to her husbands, they couldn't help. But as we know that she kind of, when the actual Dushashan started to actually pull her sari, she first tried to hold it by her two hands and then by one hand, and then she realized that there's no way that I'm going to save myself. So she just raised her hands and said Govinda, and then suddenly Krishna came. Now that is maybe the only one time, or could be more, but thing that we know that Krishna incarnated as a sari. Now, how do we say that Krishna incarnated as sari? Because that sari that was provided to Draupadi was not limited. Wherever Krishna is, there is unlimited. So you have to understand, like, Dushashan is not any ordinary person, he's a warrior. And to actually pull the sari and get tired of pulling the sari, it means like how much he would have strained himself to actually do that. And the time factor, we don't know how long. And there's another thing that came to my mind, like when he's been pulled, Draupadi was like constantly twirling around, like, and if you can't do that for more than 5 minutes, right? I would say not more than 2 minutes, you would actually fall down, like it creates a dizziness. But when the amount of time Dushashan was pulling, she was like not going around like that, she was just one place, turning like a top. And basically she was in samadhi. So she did not understand, she forgot about what was happening in the exterior. She was in total samadhi in that moment of distress, and Krishna supplied her with sari. She didn't know what was happening. She was the only point of focus was Lord Krishna. So that is what is explained here when, like, how Krishna reciprocates with the intent of the intent with which you approach him. Now, because we had the Snanayatra yesterday, there's a nice story related to that as well, where when Jagannath Baldev show their Hathi Vesh, the form of an elephant. Now the story, as we know, some of you know, like it's there was a Brahmana called Gangadas, is it his name? I forgot the name. Let me know. I took some notes. What was his name? Gangapati Bhattar. So he was Brahmana, and then he wanted to understand about what is the topmost goal of life. He wanted to see the Parabrahman. So he read the Veda Shastras, and then he kind of understood from that, from a note saying that this Nilachal, where Jagannath, he actually came as the wood incarnation, Daru Brahman. He's the wood incarnation of the Parabrahman. And then if you go there, you can actually, just seeing him, you can actually get liberation. Now hearing that, he got inspired, and then he immediately left. I think he was in the Karnataka region, and then he went to see Jagannath Puri, to see Jagannath. And then he went there. And while on the way, there are some I think what do you call these in these pathway, when you have land agriculture and you have this pathway for the water to go in. So there are similar pathway water streams, and it's also said that anyone who actually places the feet on that will never have to place his feet on the abode of the Yamaraj. So he was so happy about reaching, this is in the outskirts of Jagannath Puri. So he was so happy there. And then when he was sitting, and he was very happy that he's reached Jagannath Puri. He was meditating. He wanted to spend some time there meditating. And that when he was doing meditating, he saw a group of people happily going with some food. Then he stopped them and asked, like, where are you guys from and how are you doing? He said, like, we just visited Jagannath Puri, we took darshan of Jagannath and then we got Mahaprasad and we're very happy. What more we can have? Fine. And then he saw another group of people going like that with Mahaprasad and we stopped them. They also said they took darshan of Lord Jagannath. Now it was very, very good news for them, but then it was a bit of a sad news for him. He was like, what is this? Whatever I read from the Shastra said that when you look at Jagannath, you get liberated. Now how are these people seeing Jagannath and then again going back to their home? How was it even possible? Now he got a little bit disappointed. And he thought maybe the quotes of the Shastra were not true. So how can it be? And then he was sitting there in a morose state. And then Lord Jagannath, out of his causeless mercy, came as a really old Brahmana. And then he asked him, like, dear son, what's happening? Why are you sitting here? Then he said about that, like I read this, that when you take darshan of Jagannath and you get liberated. So, but I see people going back to their home. Why would even they do that? They should have been liberated straight away from when they saw Jagannath. And then this Brahmin and Jagannath in the form of the Brahmin, he said, like, yes, that is true. The Vedic Shastras don't lie. But also the Lord reciprocates with the intent with which you approach Him. So they did not come for liberation. They came for the life to be happy. They wanted their daughters to get married. They wanted to have a peaceful life. They wanted to buy something or so many other ulterior motives. But again, they came to the Lord, which is commendable. So that's why they're getting those benedictions and going. So, but if you are coming for liberation, you will get liberation. Then he got some conference because the conference of the words of the Brahmana. He said, and the Brahmana said, anyway, you come all the way. Why don't you just go take darshan of Jagannath? So he goes. Now, when he goes to see Jagannath, he always had this, because he was an ardent devotee of worship. He was attracted. I couldn't say devotee. He was quite attracted by Lord Ganesha. So his vision of Parabrahman was basically that it has to be in that form, like in the form of an elephant or a hathi vesh. So after when he goes and sees Jagannath, he feels disappointed again. It's like, oh, doesn't look the same way that I visualized. Now, if somebody comes to temple with that, it's like, okay, you don't know who's Krishna. So you have to learn a little bit more. But then Lord, out of His causeless mercy, He wants to reciprocate with His devotee. So what He does is, like, in the dream, He comes to one of the pandas and He says, like, there is one person who's come to see me, go bring him. And then next day, after the Snana Yatra, I'm going to reveal my own form and dress me up like that. So he was like surprised, and he was also wondering what is this new form of the Lord is going to be, because he already had a different form as Jagannath. It's totally like people, even, I don't know, like from some people from South India, they don't know Jagannath. Like then they see, like, why is this statue a bit awkward? Like, they don't understand. Where is the hands? It doesn't look like a person. So the panda was also a bit inquisitive of seeing interested in what was going to happen. Now after the Snana Yatra, this Lord of Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra had this beautiful form of the elephant. And when that Brahmana saw that, he was so amazed. He was so amazed, and he totally fell in love. And then in that whole assembly, this soul merged into Jagannath. So he got liberated. And it was a big scene, like everybody was surprised, shocked. Now he actually praised to Lord Jagannath that the form that you showed to me in this way, after Snana Yatra, may you also show this form to everyone. So that is why we actually dress up or put that hathi vesh and we celebrate, and it's done all over wherever Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra is. Where even at homes when they worship Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. So in this way, Lord reciprocates with the feeling with which you come to Him. That's the most important thing. And there are amazing things like how Brahma feels that he's quite insignificant. Now there's another story of, I'll tell two more stories. So when actually Hanuman goes to the Himalayas to get the Sanjeevani herb, when Lakshman has been attacked with arrows of Indrajit or Meghnath, so he feels that I can't waste my time to search for this thing because I'm of less intelligence. I'm just a monkey. I'm not a doctor. So he just picks up the whole mountain. So that's called passion. So he just picks up the whole mountain, but it's called transcendental passion anyway. So he picks up the whole mountain, he just flies there, and he passes through Ayodhya. And at that time, King Bharat, as we know, like he took the order from Lord Ram to actually take over the kingdom, or administer the kingdom. But he was too engrossed in the name of Lord Ram and in the memories of Lord Ram that he was just always just chanting Lord Ram's name, and then in that mood. So Shatrughan was actually kind of taking care of the kingdom. Now he sees this big, gigantic monkey just carrying a big mountain. So Shatrughan is like kind of scared, like, what is this? This looks like a mystic person, like a demon. Is he come here to create any issue? So he goes and tells to Bharat, and then Bharat sees that and he actually shoots an arrow, and it kind of attacks Hanuman, and Hanuman comes down. And then when he sees Bharat, and then he explains the whole situation, that this is what's happened, then Bharat was really, oh my God, this happening, and my brother Lakshman is actually hurt. Okay, you need to go. But then he says, go and tell to his mother, like Sumitra, that such and such thing has happened, and then get her blessings. Now Hanuman is a bit not sure what to do, because it's better to go and then make sure Lakshman is okay, and then come to and say to his mother Sumitra. But he said, like, to just go and tell to his mom that your son is hurt and is about to die, I am going to go to help him, would not be a good experience for a mother to hear. Now Hanuman was a bit, but anyway, he said he's Lord Ram's brother. I should not disobey his words. So he still went. And then this is an example of how all the characters of Ramayana were so much dedicated in service of Ram. So when he told this to Sumitra, Mother Sumitra, about that your son Lakshman is been hit by an arrow and he's actually in a comatic stage, I'm here to taking the herb so that he can be saved. Now when Mother Sumitra hears that, she's so happy. Oh my God, is that what happened? Like, my son is engaged in the service of Lord Ram to such an extent that he almost about to give his body. So she was more happy for that, rather than thinking that, oh my God, like from the external, like even though everybody has their devotion, but then when it comes to their own son, everybody would put that sentiment in front of service. But then she was so happy that, like Lakshman actually is serving Lord in such a emphatic way. And then she also says, like, go, but then if something happens to Lakshman, don't worry, come back here and because Lakshman and Shatrughan were twins, come back here and take Shatrughan, because then at least there will be someone to serve Ram. He shouldn't be alone. So when Hanuman heard this, he was like it's the same experience which Uddhava felt when he went to Vrindavan. He said, like, I think I've been sent here by Bharat to understand the glories, to understand the love that these people have for Lord Ram. So, and then after saying that, she also scolds Hanuman, what are you doing here, wasting time here? Go and save my Lakshman so that he may be revived, so that he can serve Ram in a much better way. So Hanuman goes there. So this is an example where we see that how they are actually how the interaction between devotees, how they are surrendered to Lord Ram is. Now I'd like to finish saying that in our lifetime, we might think that certain positions, certain praises, or certain opportunities that we have been given to serve their lordships, we sometimes get, we might, not said, we might, if you don't have the right consciousness, we might get attached to those positions or the name and the fame that comes with it. But it's interesting, once when Urmila Mataji said that, like in about 200 years from now, nobody even will know that you existed, right? So there is no point in actually proving that this is what I did, this is what I did, and was my contribution. Nobody is going to remember it. So when I look at here, like these the devotees pictures, the carvings here, and then there is a name under each pillar that whoever donated that. Now they did that when the Radha Gopinath temple started, and when was Radha Gopinath came in 1991, I guess. It's not even not even like 30 years in this building. Now these people wouldn't they've donated it like 30 years ago, and they were part of the temple. We don't know who they are. We don't know who they are. And if and these devotees did not donate it, and it's part of the whoever was the temple organization, is just a way to reciprocate their humble offering that they have their names. But they wouldn't have expected their names to be there. But even if their names are there, their service was both for Krishna. Even if we forget it, Krishna will not forget that service. So similarly, if we come with the attitude of, okay, I'm doing something so that people can appreciate or recognize my service, then it's very short-lived. And the most important thing to understand is that we don't get the benefit as we would come with the right attitude. This is for Krishna, not for anything else. So in that way, we actually give more. And we also have to understand that sometimes when we actually go through some difficulty, it's because the Lord wants to praise His devotee. Like it doesn't mean that we actually Krishna or Ashish Radha Gopinath wants to prove a point, like who's the controller. Like even Srila Prabhupada, like Krishna always has a different plan. Like Srila Prabhupada being, we talk about, is the Jagat Guru, is the Shatyavesha avatar, but then when he tried to preach this same message in India, it did not succeed. So similarly, sometimes when you start a new preaching program or you start a new engagement, sometimes if it doesn't work out, that means it's not. Yeah, of course we put everything what we can. It doesn't mean that it's a failure, because Krishna wants us to do something else. So Prabhupada, when he came here, but if you think about it, if like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was so famous, he had a successful running devotional organization there. Like he had mutts all over India, but then he could not leave India to preach to the Western countries. He had to send some of his disciples. Now, if the same thing would have happened to Srila Prabhupada, like he had a very well-received organization in India, he would have been very, very, very busy in managing that organization. He wouldn't have personally able to come to the Western world. Like like when Prabhupada was old, he said, like, I want to do my translation, and he created the GBC, but still he couldn't isolate himself from management, because there's always issues coming to him. So if that would have happened, we wouldn't have personally Prabhupada coming and having those, like when you read Prabhupada Leelamrita, the sweet interactions Prabhupada had with those devotees in the earlier, all that would have been missed. So Krishna had a different plan for Prabhupada. So in that way, we don't take anything for granted, but also we think that if something doesn't happen, Krishna, what do you want? What do you want me to do? Please help me out. So that should be the mood. Now, in spiritual life, what we think is like, as we know, like in material life, there's no happiness. It's no matter how much you try to. But in spiritual life, if you at least feel within yourself that you have this small amount of bliss, right? A bliss is a big word, but I would say even a small amount of satisfaction with whatever you do. And if you're able to have a little bit of a smile in your face when doing that service, then you can assure or tell yourself that you're actually doing something right. Other than that, there is no need for us, the names printed out, or for us to actually have our names told out and getting recognition. That's all. It's all good to have. It's as part of management or as part of a leader. It's their responsibility to appreciate the service that's done by the congregation or other devotees. But then for the devotee itself, it's not needed. It's that satisfaction that you get from actually doing some service. That's more than enough, because that is what you carry over. That's what you carry over. And the Lord is so merciful that even if you don't succeed in this lifetime, when you forget, when you've been doing devotion service, when you forget and you don't reach the ultimate destination and you have to come back in another body, how wonderful it is that the Lord still makes sure that even if you had not born a devotee's family, or if you're not had the right circumstances to develop your spiritual life, but He makes you remember that in the next life somehow, through contact with devotees or with whatever means that He could, so that you could continue it. So that itself proves that the Lord wants you to come more than you want to go to Him. He finds His ways to connect with you. So for us as devotees, what the central point of this verse of Brahma saying that Narada Muni is like, he's so happy about just being able to be the nimitta matram. So he's just happy for being the instrument. He doesn't want to, if he would really had that feeling of I did it, then after Narada Muni's question there's no answer. Yes, what you say is right. You could have just said that. But he's saying, like Prabhupada explains, like if you have that, if you are serving Krishna, because Krishna's activities are unlimited and is magnanimous, the activities of the devotees is also magnanimous, and it can bewilder the people who don't have the right way to see, oh, it actually looks like he's done it. Because you can't urugraya, you can't measure the activities of Lord. So the activities of devotees are also amazing and magnificent. Otherwise, how would we see the activities of Prabhupada? It is amazing. Who would have done such a big task? So, but similar in the lines of Lord Brahma, Prabhupada always put the credits, everything back to his spiritual master, and he also said, and new disciples help me. So that's the mood of a devotee. So I'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.